Hi, everyone. I'm Kyle Kramer, the CEO of the Earth and Spirit Center, and I'm joined today by Trent Findley. Hi, Trent.
Hello, good morning to you.
Trent is the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for Metro United Way. And Trent, you are involved in our Listen, Learn, Act racial equity work. And in April, I think on the 11th, and I'll double check that, you're going to be offering a racial wealth gap simulation workshop, if I recall rightly.
Yes, that's right.
All right. Well, before we talk a little bit about the workshop, can you maybe say a word or two about your work at Metro United Way and how you came to be in a position to offer such a workshop?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I'm very much looking forward to the event and happy to be able to be involved in this work. Metro United Way fights for equity and opportunity for all people in our 7-county region. We can only achieve this reality if all our community members, especially our future leaders, are equipped and empowered to engage in candid conversations about race, ethnic identity, and justice. We can't begin to address the profound education and wealth gaps in our community until we all understand the disparate paths policy paved to construct them, and then together commit to closing those gaps. We've been doing this racial wealth gap simulation for going on 4 years now, and it is one of our best community engagement tools. The simulation, it's an interactive tool that helps people understand the connections among racial equity, hunger, poverty, and wealth.
Okay, that sounds great. So maybe you can walk me through a little bit what folks can expect out of that experience. It's about, what, an hour or 90 minutes? Is that right?
Yeah, it's usually around 90 minutes.
90 minutes, okay.
Like I said, it's an interactive learning tool, and it's a good first step for people who are unaware of structural inequality. It's a good support tool for those who are aware but want a deeper understanding of structural inequality. And it's also a good source of information, even for experts who want to know the quantifiable economic impact of each policy that we go through in the simulation.
Okay.
So in the simulation, participants learn how federal policies created structural inequalities, related to property ownership, education, and those are just kind of 2 areas, but it's all about eliminating hunger and poverty in our communities.
Yeah, well, much needed. So when you say interactive, does that mean there's some lecture or online information delivered? What does the interactive component look like?
Sure. So the simulation guides participants to an understanding of why racial equity is so important, and it does that by each participant participating in the simulation, where you assume the role of either a Black participant or a white participant. We usually split the room up 50-50, and then we go through each policy in chronological order, and the participants accumulate or get rid of money cards, land cards, and lost opportunity cards.
Oh, okay. So there's almost I hate to use this word, but I will anyway, almost a game element to it.
Yeah, sort of that type of element. We say that it's a simulation, not a game. Also, I'll point out, I usually say, when I'm explaining it, that it's not an exercise in placing blame or making people feel responsible for outcomes that our nation's history has dictated. It's intended to ground us in actual policy. And it does a wonderful job of bringing people to why racial equity is so important.
Yeah, well, and it resonates so much with one of the core aspects of the Earth and Spirit mission, which is compassion. We're all about cultivating mindfulness, certainly for personal growth, but so that you can open your eyes and see the world in new ways, in compassionate ways. And I really appreciate how you describe that, because a lot of us, I think, particularly if we're white, if we're privileged, it's just difficult for us to see in new ways. So it sounds like you're trying to open our eyes to compassion.
Yeah, it's absolutely all about learning. At Metro United Way, we've seen this simulation change people's hearts and minds and inspire them to become committed to applying a racial equity lens to their work.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my last question, Trent. So it's one thing to see and understand things differently. It's another thing to then act on that new seeing and understanding. What kinds of action steps or next steps, whatever they may look like, tend to come out of a workshop like this?
Sure. So once participants complete the simulation, there are many things that you can do. First and foremost, we want to encourage you to engage in the work of understanding how to reverse what has created racial inequities. That's the work of racial equity, and it's a process that focuses on centering the needs, leadership, and power of people who have been historically oppressed. So we know that advocacy is very important. So we encourage that. And, in our mission, we say we want people to give, advocate, volunteer. So there are a full spectrum of things that can be done. And I believe that we do a good job of tying that together at the completion of the simulation.
Oh, that's give, advocate, and volunteer. I love those action steps, and I know and assume that Metro United Way has plenty of avenues for that kind of involvement once someone's eyes are opened.
Absolutely, we provide that. A couple of different resources, but then it's just about knowing that process of racial equity, how that can look for you.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fantastic. And for anyone watching this who happens to not have read any single newspaper for the past 4 years, reminding them that Louisville is one of the most segregated cities in the country, and that obviously we're on the national stage, and not in a good way, for our policing issues and other things stemming from systemic racism. So something like this is so needed, and I'm so grateful that you and Metro United Way are doing that, and we're grateful to partner with you. So in terms of the details, this workshop is going to be on Tuesday evening, April 11th at 7 p.m. To probably about 8:30, it sounds like. And because we have received very generous funding from Metro Government's Office of Equity, we're able to offer this workshop entirely free to anyone who wants to participate. So we would love to invite everyone to learn more on our website at www.earthandspiritcenter.org, and there will be a link somewhere below this video. And Trent, we're just so looking forward to having you and going through this experience with you on April 11th. Thanks again.
Likewise, thank you for setting it up for us.